So my mother used to say, she used to have a lot of sayings, but one of them was, many hands make light work. And what that means to you in your hotel, if you're the general manager sitting here today, I don't recommend you go back and start using this system with your teams. What I want you to do is to go back and teach the people that do the schedules, productivity, show them the tools, do the analysis with them, make them part of it, and get them to actually incorporate this into their schedules already. Because they're already doing their schedules, they already have a tool. All you need to do is put one little calculation on the bottom of each day and a subtotal at the week, and they've got their productivity. And they'll know whether or not they're beating last year's productivity. That's all you want to do, constant improvement. And there'll be some days you'll win, some weeks you'll win, and some months you'll win, and there'll be some you lose. That's the way it goes. But based on what Mr. Drucker said, if you continually manage and measure what you're trying to manage, you will improve, and you will find innovation, and you will find ideas. So I talked about creating next year's budget. Well, guess what? Once you have all of the productivity by month, all you need is for someone to give you what the projected occupancy is next year and the cover counts, and you've already got the number of hours in each one of your buckets to do the budget. And what you can do as well is look at the data and look to see where there are opportunities. So again, when we look at this one and we look at the room attendant productivity, if we were doing the budget next year, what do you think you'd want to budget in these months? Would you want to allow for increased or decreased productivity in these months, or would you want to set your sights on productivity at least equal to the annual amount? So you continually focus and force people to review their operating standards and procedures to increase productivity. And by having it laid out month by month using your key business indicators, you can create a budget in minutes. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, I'm looking for where are the opportunities. And when I look at months where the productivity is really good, I want to do things like, I want to start using my monthly commentary from my housekeeper. I want them to start commenting on productivity. What worked this month? What didn't work? What were the challenges? So that every single month I've got something from a verbal point of view that backs up my statistics, so that I start putting a face to my data. And again, if we were making cars and we had a problem with our productivity, it would probably be because a supplier had a problem giving us raw materials, or there'd be a problem with the labor force, or there would be a problem with something to do with the water in the factory. There's always a reason. The same thing happens in your hotels. And you need to be able to capture that information so that when you're projecting your results going forward, you've got something to base them on. Okay, so one thing that I believe in is that wanting perfection in our business is kind of crazy. And if you went to work tomorrow and you had the idea and you were telling people that you think guest service should be perfect in your hotel, they would think you were crazy. Because we all know that every single day we come to work and we're going to drop the ball somewhere. It's inevitable. We strive for a very high level of guest service, but we know it's never going to be perfect. And people would quite rightfully so think we're crazy if we thought it could be perfect. Well, guess what? Colleague engagement is exactly the same. Working with all the people inside of your businesses, they're never going to be perfect. We train them, we have standards, we're constantly working. We get up every day, we come to work, and we want things to be better, and we strive and we move in that direction, but we would be daft to say that it's ever going to be perfect. Well, guess what? The numbers in your business are exactly the same thing. They're never going to be perfect. Ever, ever, ever. It's just another part of what you have to do and what you manage. And just like with guest service and colleague engagement, you have tools and you have processes. Well, with your expenses and your revenues and your labor, you have tools and processes and expenses too. But when it comes to numbers, we have this idea that it's like grade 10 math. If I pass it, I'll never have to take it again. Well, no. It's never going to go away. It's part of your business. So embrace it, create a system, teach people how to use it, and change the way you manage. So I have a question for all of you. When it comes to the budget or the forecast, what is the one thing that we know for sure? 100% of the time, what's the one thing we know? It's a guess. Yes, that's part of it.
It's going to change.
It's going to change, yeah. Somebody will want to change it. But what else do we know about the budget for sure? Quintessential, absolute. What's the one thing we know for sure?
History, what happened last year?
Okay, we know the history, yes, but that's not what I'm looking for. What's the one thing we know about the budget?
It'll never be It'll never be exact.
It's wrong. It'll never be right. The budget is never right. So right off the bat, why wouldn't you prepare your numbers? And why wouldn't you teach people to prepare their numbers? Because there's zero risk. And the more shots you take, it's like Michael Jordan. He's the most successful basketball player in history. Why? What's the one reason he was so successful, other than being so tall? He took more shots than anybody else. That's all it is. So if you're not taking any shots right now when it comes to creating and calculating productivity in your hotels, well, you have zero risk. You have only things to win. So that's the one thing we know for sure about the budget. Okay. I talked earlier about using incentives to raise productivity. So when I work with my clients, quite often we create incentives after we create a productivity system because they want to reward their managers and their supervisors for saving them money, which is, I think, the right thing to do.